Welcome, campers, weavers, lovers of ghostly tales, and those delicious things that go bump in the night. I am Shannon, and before we get started, I just wanted to say how happy I am to know that so many different people from all different walks of life took some time to hear my stories. People from the UK, Canada, Malaysia, Mexico, Taiwan, and India, just to name a few. I really do appreciate you all and hope you have enjoyed these stories. I may not have the best setups yet, but I am working on it. I will be adding a donation button shortly and am working on ways to be able to give something back to you. So thank you so much. But for now, how about we get this first story going? The following stories are all about sacred creatures. These are creatures of gods and goddesses, creatures believed to be the carnal truth going back ages. Most all of our creatures discussed in these next stories will have some form of animism, whether it be Zeus transforming into a swan to woo a mortal, or Narasimha, the man-lion, an avatar of the Vishnu. For tonight's tale, I am taking us into the realms of the Greek gods, where we will discuss the siren. And if you are listening to this story on my YouTube channel, Cottage Weaver of Fiber and Tales, you will get to see the beginnings of my next weaving project. Before I get any backlash from those who swear the siren is a mermaid, I know there is some discrepancy between sirens and mermaids. I will be discussing the siren based off of the Odyssey, circa 800 to 600 BCE. Descriptions of the sirens during the Greek and Roman era were of creatures that had a woman's head atop a bird's body. In fact, this description included wings, a tail, and talons, and they were believed to live off the rocky cliff edges of oceans and other large bodies of water. These descriptions can be seen on ceramics, paintings, and tomb sculptures from the time of Homer's Odyssey. Personally, I am partial to large birds, particularly the hawk and buzzard. The buzzard probably being my favorite of all the flesh-eating birds. Long ago, many people believed birds such as the crow and buzzard and hawk would carry away the spirits of the dead with the sweeping motion of their wings. There is some scholarly debate, though, that the siren, the woman/bird hybrid, harkened back to the Egyptian bow-bird. But a picture was discovered in a Turkish settlement about 6,500 BCE, showing that the Egyptians were not the only ones who believed and worshipped these animal/human hybrids. Due to the sexualization of sirens in later translations of Homer's Odyssey, we see the transformation of the bird-shaped siren into the more fishy version of a seductive female with the upper body of a woman and the lower half, usually waist down, of a fish. If we take a look at Homer's Odyssey, it is Circe, a witch close to my heart, who warns Odysseus, our token hero, that he and his crew must sail past a rocky island where two sirens live. And in order to sail safely past, they must plug their ears so as not to hear the alluring siren song. Odysseus, ever the bold, wanted to hear these songs for himself. So he instructed his shipmates to tie him to a large mast. Odysseus would place softened wax in all his men's ears, and when done, the men tied Odysseus as he requested to a large mast. They then took up their oars and began to row. As the boat began to sail past the island, the sirens saw the boat and began their song. Come hither as thou farest, renowned Odysseus, great glory of the Achaeans. Stay thy ship until he has heard the sweet voice from our lips. Nay, he has joy of it, and goes his way a wiser man. For we know all the toils that in wide Troy and Argives and Trojans endure through the will of the gods, and we know all things that come to pass upon the fruitful earth. Circe had advised Odysseus that the Sirens' island is full of bones of men who had died having been lured by the sweet song. Those whose flesh still hung to the bones were described as still having a smile, implying although the men died, they died happily. So where did the sirens come from? It is said that the sirens were daughters of the river god, Aeolus, and their mother was a reported muse, but there is some debate as to which muse. Another story that involves the sirens and their sweetly song singing is that of Jason and the Argonauts. Jason was the son of Alcimede and Aeson, who was the king of Iolcus. Jason's father, Aeson, had a half-brother, Peleus, who usurped the crown of Iolcus and imprisoned Aeson. When Alcimede gave birth to Jason, she feared Peleus would kill him as the crown was rightfully his, so he was sent away as a baby. When Jason was 20, he set out to reclaim the throne of Iolcus from his uncle Peleus. While Jason was walking back to Iolcus, he came upon an old woman who was trying to cross the river Anaurus. Jason was naturally a good person and helped the woman cross, but in doing so, he lost one of his sandals, and it was carried away by the current. Unbeknownst to Jason, the woman was in disguise and was actually Hera, queen of the gods. Many years ago, Jason's uncle, Peleus, had angered Hera. He had killed his stepmother at the altar of Hera, and she took offense to this, vowing to make Peleus pay. And now she had begun to put her plan for revenge into motion. The story of Jason is a bit of a long one, but it is a good one, so please don't misconstrue this. However, this story is more about the sirens, so I'm going to fast forward through the story just a bit. Now, by the time Jason had acquired a number of strong and famous men who had joined him in his quest, and they are referred to as the Argonauts. When Jason and the Argonauts headed to Aea, Circe's exiled home. While sailing past an island, the men reported a strange musical sound luring them to leave their ships and enter the island. This desire to do so became almost ravenous in need. The men began moving their ships to the island, save for one man. One of Jason's Argonauts was a man named Orpheus, who was a famed musician. Orpheus was strong enough to pull himself away from the siren song just long enough to pick up his lyre and begin to play. Suddenly, the sirens and Orpheus are in a musical battle, with the sirens singing sweet songs of eternal paradise, and Orpheus playing his lyre and singing his own song to call the men back. Orpheus sang so triumphantly that the men were able to focus on his singing and playing, and they were able to turn their ships back on course and sail past the sirens and their island. Now this is an excerpt from the book of the Argonautica by Apollonius of Rhodes. Suddenly to the heroes, to the sirens sent forth from their lips a lily-like voice, and they were already about to cast from the ship the hawsers to the shore, had not Triaon Orpheus, son of Oregus, stringing in his hands his Bistonian lyre, run forth the hasty snatch of a rippling melody, so that their ears might be filled with the Argonautica. Unfortunately, one of the Argonauts did not make it. Butes was not able to focus on his comrade's playing. He jumped over the side of the boat and swam towards the rocks. Yelling for Butes to stop and return to the ship, the men watched as the goddess Aphrodite appeared and saved their friend Butes. It seems now the sirens and their songs have left their island, as some people dream of hearing the sirens' sweet song. Usually, when these songs are heard during a dream state, it is a warning of danger and that action is needed to be taken right away. Another interpretation is that a transformation is just ahead of you. The sirens are singing for you to pay attention and embrace the change that is ahead. It is a sort of wake-up call, calling you to look out and be aware of the change that is coming. This could be something that is causing a lot of strife or can be very emotional for you and you're trying to ignore it. But the siren song is telling you not to ignore this and to face the challenge head on. Clearly, the symbolism of the siren has changed from that of deceit and death to some sort of higher self or a sort of spiritual alarm to help and guide you through a difficult time ahead. If you don't know who Margaret Atwood is, she is a famous novelist and poet, most notably for her story The Handmaid's Tale, which has now been adapted to a television series. One of Miss Atwood's poems is that of the Siren Song. It is written in the viewpoint of the siren herself, and I shall read it to you. This is the one song everyone would like to learn, the song that is irresistible, the song that forces men to leap overboard in squadrons, even though they see the beach skulls, the song nobody knows, because anyone who has heard it is dead, and the others can't remember. Shall I tell you the secret? And if I do, will you get me out of this bird suit? I don't enjoy it here, squatting on this island, looking picturesque and mythical with these two feathery maniacs. I don't enjoy singing, this trio fatal and valuable. I will tell you the secret, to you, only to you. Come closer. This song is a cry for help. Help me. Only you can. You are unique, at last. Alas, it is a boring song, but it works every time. Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed that poem, and I hope you enjoyed the telling of the sirens, at least in its first ever form. Sadly, those sirens of feather and talon have fallen away from history, being replaced by their sister, the mermaid, in most forms. With that being said, I should probably do my next podcast on the mermaids. It just seems fitting that if we're going to talk about sirens, we should include more of their history as well. But when I'm going to talk about the mermaids, I don't mean the red-headed, fare thee well Little Mermaid. I'm talking about the darker mermaid. These mermaids are seductive and they have a hunger for flesh. So stay tuned. And if you perchance viewed my YouTube channel to hear this tale, then you will see that my weaving project is not quite finished. But hopefully I will be able to wrap it up with episode 17, Mermaids. I hope you're enjoying the beginning of fall, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.